Hello everyone, I'm Nick Tango. Today we're going to be talking about sniper support weapons. There's been a lot of discussion about which weapons are really excelling in this role right now. SMGs and ARs especially, just which ones are really going to cut it. We're going to be talking about the RAM-7, the Bas-B, the Striker, and the WSP9 today. They're the ones that are probably most well suited, in my opinion, for sniper support, but we're going to be paying special attention to the mid-range engagements. A lot of sniper supports really focus on that closest range, which is important, but depending on your role within your squad, as well as your playstyle, you may have more luck being able to engage in the, say, 30 to 60 meter range, or even 40 to 70 meter range, versus only prioritizing that up close engagement range. So I'll be going over the builds, looking at the stats, and helping you figure out which gun you should run to suit your play style, how to build those, and really the strengths and weaknesses of each one. We will be using true game data for the stats here. That's truegamedata.com. Gonna have a link down in the description. There's also an iOS and Android app. Team that builds this app do tons of amazing work. Lots of testing, in depth. They find a lot of weird interactions with the stats that aren't shown in game, and then all of these wonderful tools such as TTK simulation based on your own accuracy with a specific gun and build, or shots to kill depending on how many neck and head shots, how many chest versus stomach shots, etc. that you get. So you can get really detailed builds. And then they also have MetaGen, which will help put together builds based on machine learning that pick all the best attachments for you. So it's a great starting point to figure out what exactly you want to run. Tons of great tools on here. Highly recommend it. I'll be going over the builds here. The RAM-7, we are running the VT7 Spirit Fire Suppressor, Mark III reflector. Pick your own optic. This is the one that I love. I know a lot of people like it. It's that real tight blue dot, and there's no like barrier across the top to kind of obstruct your vision. Then we're running the HVS 3.4 pad. That's the recoil control stock attachment. Then the FTAC MSP98 hand stop. That is a really great attachment. It's a little bit of recoil control. There's a small penalty to horizontal recoil, but a lot of benefits to your movement, which is really good for a sniper support. Then I'm running the 60 round drum. Almost identical to that for the Bas-B. Spirit Fire Suppressor, Mark III reflector, the Ravage 20 heavy stock, which is the recoil control stock for that weapon, the FTAC MSP98 hand stop, and the 45 round mag. The 45 round mag sounds like a lot smaller than the RAM-60, but in actuality, because it has more damage per bullet, it's very close in how much effective damage you can get out per mag. Something to keep in mind comparing the damage per mag with the two of these is that you do have a slower reload by about half a second on the Bas-B compared to the RAM-7. Then we'll go over the Striker build, Sonic Suppressor S, really good for close range weapons. The Striker Elite Long Barrel, that's going to help extend your damage ranges. A lot of cases, damage range is damage. If you are taking a fight outside of the first damage range by just 1 or 2 meters, that damage that range attachment might make a shot or two time to kill difference. So damage range in a lot of cases is just damage. It is a lower time to kill. So Striker Elite Long Barrel, Mark III reflector again, FTAC MSP98 hand stop, and then the 60 round drum. That's a great attachment. Tons of damage per mag on this thing. And then the Sonic Suppressor S for the WSP9, WSP OpTac long barrel, Mark III reflector, MSP98 hand stop, and then the 50 round mag. You can run the 100 round mag for 100 round mag swarm. My bad. But yeah, 50 round mag. You have pretty good damage per mag on this too, because there's a lot of damage per bullet in those close ranges. So there are two factors that I would say rule out the Striker and WSP9 as being the ideal weapons for those mid-range engagements, especially past like 35 meters, which if you're thinking about the katt-amr as your main sniper, that's a slow weapon. Engaging at 40, 45, 50 meters every time with the katt-amr is going to be pretty difficult. So having the ability to engage in those ranges is pretty important, I would say. So you're looking at the bullet velocity, the lower bullet velocity on these SMGs, 683 for the WSP9 and 701 for the Striker, compared to 849 for the Bas-B and 839 for the RAM7. Means you're gonna have to lead a little more. It will literally take longer for the bullets to get there and kill you. They may get an extra shot off. That may make a difference. Things like that. And then the damage is the other big one. So we're going over here to look at the TTK charts. I've got this combination feature set. This is taken numbers for percentage of where you hit how many shots on a body, like which hitboxes. And it's a huge data set that was used. So sticking with default's actually pretty good use, but you can also select just a single damage range and see, or not damage range, but a hitbox and see exactly what the results will look like there. But I've got an uncombination here. And then I have open bolt delay on because of that WSP9 has the open bolt. However, in some cases, you look somebody in the back and the moment you start shooting at them, they will start taking evading action. Like they haven't seen you yet. In those times, the open bolt delay doesn't matter. So you've got this like really good TTK range inside, like, what is it, 19 meters? That's something to think about. But for most of those engagements, the open bolt delay is going to matter. So if you look here, basically past this drop off for the WSP9 at 27 meters and this drop off at 36 meters for the Striker, you're up in this higher TTK range. And then especially here past 44 and then 42 meters for the Striker, these ranges, you're gonna have a big delta in time to kill between the SMGs and the RAM7 and Bas-B. Between that and the bullet velocity, I think it's pretty hard to use those guns at those extended ranges. It's not impossible though. If you build them for it and you're good at leading your shots, you can still have an effect out there. So it really just depends on your skill and play style. I much prefer having something that I can really put damage out. You got like a squad crossing a field, but they're like, they're jumping, they're spinning, they're throwing smokes, and you just want to be able to put bullets down range that don't punish you for missing entirely, like the whole rechambering time for your sniper rifle. That's when that mid-range engagement, and you can use these the RAM7 and Bas-B out into the 70, 80, 90 meter range if you either kind of tap fire, if you mount up, things like that. So for the last thing to look at with the SMGs, we're going to look at recoil. So I want to compare these kind of one by one. So first you're looking at the RAM7. You've got a pretty steady climb and then it tightens up, but it's just going up and to the right the whole time. You got some deflection off center here, you can see later on, but especially for these first like 8 or 10 bullets, there's like some vertical climb, but if you pull down steady, you're going to have a pretty good time staying on target. And then we'll add in the Bas-B to compare. It climbs just a little fast. Well, it climbs a little slower. Per shot, it's faster, but because of the fire rate, it climbs just a little slower. You can see those recoil rates here at the top. But you do have a little more deflection early down here. It jumps off to the left and keeps going left and then climbs kind of straight back up. But then you're back and forth really badly, especially later into that recoil plot. You're bouncing really far left to right. So that is a little harder to control once you've been firing for a while. I'll keep the RAM7 to compare. The Striker here, almost identical climb rate, like the amount of recoil that you experience over time. And it goes damn near straight up. There's a little more deflection in those early shots. You notice like this one off to the side and that one there and then back over here than the RAM7 has, but it stays pretty tight up into this upper range. So the longer you fire it, you're not going to have as many issues. And then for the WSP9, this thing has a very low rate of recoil. It's like, like not much more than half of what actually it's like right around half of what the Bas-B and RAM7 are. You do have a lot of back and forth left and right though. Like you have these big jumps for the first few shots, and then it's out to the right and back to the left and bouncy and then back over to the right. So this one can be actually kind of hard to use at range. Between the kind of the recoil situation for the WSP9 and then the damage for the WSP9 and the Striker and then the bullet velocity, that's really why I say for mid-range, you're going to want to stick with the RAM7 or Bas-B. So we are going to be primarily comparing those two guns for the rest of the video. Striker and WSP9 are good, but they're not really suiting the playstyle I want to look at. So with the RAM7 and the Bas-B, there's kind of a trade-off. Let's look at these TTKs. So the Bas-B has a slightly better TTK in that first damage range, and the damage range goes out further with these identical builds. The RAM7 also has an additional drop-off near the end that puts it back to being slower TTK than the Bas-B. And the middle range here, this like 37 to 56 meter range, which is that range I was talking about, the RAM7 does beat it in time to kill. With these builds, let's go ahead and look at the stats comparison. There's a few key ones here. RAM7's a higher fire rate, bigger mag to make up for it. RAM7 has a quicker reload time by about half a second, nearly identical bullet velocity. The ADS is quicker on the RAM7 despite running that 60 round mag. So if you're running like duos or solos, going to the 40 is going to make it even better. And then you've got move speed. RAM7's faster to move. The Bas-B does have sprint to fire. Oh, actually, sorry, backwards. The RAM7 has a benefit in sprint to fire, as well as the attack sprint to fire. The Bas-B's not got its in, but it is quicker. And then the ADS movement is a little faster, so your ability to strafe while you're ADSing, or not strafe, but move forward and backward is a little better, but they're very comparable. A lot of these movement stats are very, very similar. And then there was one or two other things. Okay, so the maximum hipfire area, the kind of more extended, you know, your 5th, your 10th round while hip firing is much tighter on the RAM7 than the Bas-B. And then the RAM7 deals more flinch and experiences less flinch when getting shot than the Bas-B. That is really, really useful. And then let's see, I think that covers all of the stats that are really crucial here. But there was something else I wanted to show: the shots to kill. The RAM7, if you get 2 shots to either the head or the neck, you will reduce the TTK by 1 shot. And then on the Bas-B, you only need 1 shot to the head, but neck shots do not improve time to kill. If you get your 1 shot to the head, you've dropped your time to kill by 1 shot, and it's very similar to that 2 head and neck shot RAM7 time to kill, 540 versus 560 milliseconds. So that is something, if you are the kind of person that's going to get those few headshots, the RAM7 needs 2 to the head and neck, whereas the Bas-B only needs 1 to reduce time to kill. And then the actual real world recoil is something I want to go over here. So I'm going to go in game here and show you kind of how it looks like. I'm going to start by doing no correction on the recoil. I'm not warmed up, so I'm going to be a little rough when I get to that. So let's start on this close-up target here, get lined up. Oh my gosh, can we? So I'm going to start like lower torso, and it climbs up enough in that 10 meter range where you would have to correct to get a shot on it. So I'm going to drag down, but only a little bit, and it's very easy to keep that controlled. And it does have a little bit of a jump there. I don't know if you can tell my optic climbed kind of quickly there. And I'm telling you, I'm not warmed up, so my shots are going to be real bad at those ranges. But if you could see a little bit of jump early, so you kind of pull quickly, and then you're going to be able to do very little. Here, I'll kind of do a little recoil plot over on the side. See, it kind of moves right, climbs up to the right the whole time. It's going to be a little weird because of the angle, but yeah, goes up and climbs right the entire time. You can kind of see over there. Whereas with the Bas-B, you're going to have, let's start here, and I'm doing no adjustments. You are actually going to need to climb just a little less. I think with that headshot timing in it, it gets that TTK, that 1 shot quicker TTK. That's a real world example actually, where you get the quicker time to kill from 1 headshot. But then just a little bit of dragging down, and that guy's already got damage, but a little bit of dragging down, but then it jumps left and right like that. So you could see that left-right jump. right there, right here, this left to right to left to right. And that makes it a little harder to control at range, in my opinion, than the RAM-7. The RAM-7 has that faster climb rate, but the that kind of left to right move is a little tricky. And so just for reference, this first range is 10 meters. The second is 25, and that far one, I believe, is 50. Is that 50? I can't remember. I think that's 50. Can't ping, but so yeah, that's gonna be like when I was saying that 35 to 50 meter range, I'm talking about out here. That's almost no correction there. That's bouncing back and forth quite wildly. So yeah, I think that generally the RAM-7's a little easier to control, but it does have that kind of optic deflection because of those early jumps, so it's kind of a taste thing there, you know, kind of how it fits your skill and style. That pretty well covers it. I think as a summary here, the Bas-B does have just a little bit better time to kill in most areas, except for that mid-range we were talking about, the RAM-7 having this range better. But I think the Bas-B overall is going to be a little faster time to kill, especially with that one headshot to reduce time to kill. It's a little slower to handle overall, though. In just about every way, you're going to have worse ADS, worse move speed, things like that. And then the RAM-7 is going to be a little easier to control. And TTK doesn't mean anything if you aren't controlling the recoil and hitting your shots. You know, if the gun's TTK is 1,000 milliseconds, but you're hitting every shot, that is a better TTK for you than a gun with a 500 millisecond TTK, but you're missing 60% of the shots. And something that you can use here is the True TTK simulator here on True Game Data again. And so I've got my builds here, the RAM-7 and Bas-B, and you can go in. You can go in for the long range. Yeah, there's instructions here. Where is it at? Oh, yeah. So you will want to do your accuracy in this longer range and then plug it in. And this is going to be bad, but get the kill, 46% accuracy on that longest range. Jumping all over the place. And I only had 34 there. I've got more practice with the RAM right now, so it's probably not that actually bad. But 46% and let's say 35, I think it was a little over. And then mouse and key for me. And simulate. And we have what you can see is extremely close. And these are like kind of averages. Extremely close up until 20 meters, and then steadily the RAM-7 just has better and better TTKs because I'm hitting more shots with it. So this is something you really want to consider. TTK is meaningless if you're hitting fewer shots. There are kind of outlier examples. You know, a 1,000 millisecond time to kill gun that you're hitting 90% of your shots on is still going to be slower than a 500 millisecond gun that you're hitting 70% of your shots on. Random example there. But it's something to keep in mind when you're picking a gun is actually how reliably are you able to hit the shots from the feel of the gun, the fire rate. We talked about bullet velocity is a big factor. And then of course the recoil, but not just like, is it a lot or is it not, but what those plots look like. You can go into a plunder match with your weapons and look at recoil plots. See, I think on mine that doesn't register with bullet marks, which is unfortunate. Yeah, that's not visually very good. But you can look here and compare the recoil plots on a wall here in the firing range. And you can see the RAM-7 climbing a little quicker. Keep in mind this is a different number of shots, so they're not that comparable from the height. But if you look, you get this kind of steady to the right, not a lot of wiggle, but you have this pretty big left and right, and back to the right, you know, right, left, right, and then up on the Bas-B that can make it pretty difficult to use. So that's going to kind of conclude things here. I would say the RAM-7 edges out the Bas-B in general, but the Bas-B is still very good, and a lot of people are really comfortable with it. So that is going to be a great gun to run. And then to end things, just show you my two favorite katt-amr builds. I've got one that I use for resurgence primarily, though I do use it in solos sometimes as well. And this is going to be one that's a little bit more suited for aggressive play. And what we have for that is the Sonic Suppressor XL. What this build has is about 900 meters a second bullet velocity, which is not very high, but in those closer ranges it's fine. Zang 34 barrel, Choreo laser. This gives you, a lot of people aren't running this laser, but this laser gives you a lot of aiming stability, and this gun desperately needs that. I run the stock optic. A lot of people like to run an optic. You can swap out the laser or the stock pad. This is the ADS one, the tactical stock pad, for an optic if you'd like, but I like this optic. And then the ephemeral quick bolt. It's going to get you those follow-up shots quicker. And then the kind of BR long range one that I like to run here, I've got the XRK Nightfall suppressor. That gives you all the way out to 1300 meters per second bullet velocity. Same barrel, laser. And the reason you get that really high bullet velocity also is the Cal Spire point rounds. They're better than the high grain. They're better than the high velocity. High velocity only gives you 20%. The Spire point give you 35%. So you're going to have a really good bullet velocity with this. I run the tactical stock pad and the Choreo laser for 4v3. Again, for that aiming stability and ADS. What you end up with is about a 730 millisecond ADS time. That aggro build has a 665 millisecond ADS time. So you're looking at, 70, 75 milliseconds. That's a really significant period of time for those aggro builds. But these are the two that I like to run. And of course, you can kind of mix and match. You can go with the XRK Nightfall, but still stick with the ephemeral quick bolt, things like that. You could take off the quick bolt and throw on the Sonic or the ammunition and have a better ADS, but still pretty good bullet velocity. But that's the kind of things to look for in this. I think those are really the loadouts to be running right now in BR or Resurgence for sniper builds. Obviously, the long range meta is a whole other deal, but definitely very good to look into these. And then again, truegamedata.com. I'm going to link it down in the description. Huge, valuable tool. I have my builds saved there that you will be able to click on and see, and I update those from time to time. So you'll be able to see all the guns and how I like to run them. And then the last thing I'm going to mention here is I do stream over on Twitch, usually weekday evenings, Eastern time. I like to get on 6, 7, 8 p.m. I don't have a strict schedule, but I've got my link tree down in the description, so be sure to give me a follow, and I'd be glad to see you there. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.